Tolvanen and Partanen played the team game well last week, but the 1-minute lap times back at Watkins Glen will be a stark contrast to Bathurst. Expect a battle of attrition today as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I am Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Mount Panorama hasn't seen open-wheel cars race here for quite some time, so why don't we head over to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speeds as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock's Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. Well, Bathurst is a mighty track, and it tends to intimidate drivers. We'll see if any of them get scared today, Joey.
I think you put it up there with the likes of Nürburgring, Le Mans, just some of the world greats here. Mount Panorama Circuit, 23 turns, 4 miles long, 6.213 kilometers down there, down under in Australia. And honestly, turn 1, relatively simple. Just a 90-degree turn down into this monster sweeping straightaway that goes up and down, and then you get to attack the mountain. Starting off in Griffin's Bend, it is all the way uphill. Watch out the Cutting there, an incredibly tight left-hand turn where the track is just concrete walls on both sides. Very, very narrow, continues to climb uphill all the way through McPhillamy Park, then starts to head downhill from Skyline, down through the Dipper into Forest's Elbow, another incredibly tight turn, and then a downhill straightaway through the Conrad Straight into one of the biggest and best passing opportunities, the Chase. But I think no matter where you go and sit at this place, you're in for some action.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one. It's just a question of who will actually get to see the checkered flag here today. Now, what's interesting here with the driver's standings is keep looking at those names on there. All the way down to 6th is where you have to go until you finally see a driver that is not a Finn. Pepe Fuente is going to be the first one to represent somewhere else in the world with Clapper, Mosquera, and Reed. But otherwise, Tolvanen, Partanen, Korteniemi, Viekainen, Raina, Kaita, all Finns here to start out the season. So clearly they're going to put in a steep effort to try and control this F1 championship. We'll see if they can carry that on here in Australia. Is the F2 standings at least a little bit more diverse, Joey?
It is. Andrew Thomas currently leading the way. We have only had Watkins Glen so far, but I'm seeing a few of these names here in our top split. I saw Daniel Banker logged in here. I believe I saw Sam Ryman as well. So we're just going to have to see how this one develops. Like I said, only round 2 here in the championship.
Now, as for today's race, a lot fewer laps than what we saw before. 21 laps around here, because it takes them about 2 minutes to circulate just one time around this place. And it's open setup. But this is a bit of a tricky one because you saw the long straights that Joey was talking about. Well, mix that in with all the twisty and slower bits along the mountains. So how do you set up the car for that? No spare car. And considering it is pretty much a street course through here, drivers are going to have to pay attention and make sure that they don't get any sort of damage throughout the race, because they're going to have to spend some time in pit lane if they do get that damage. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. A bit of a mixed bag on that one, because there's definitely places where you can go off track, but there's also all these concrete walls. Now, as we're watching with Partonen, I was keeping an eye on Courtney during our pre-race show here. Topi has wrecked the car on his first attempt, so he's gotten back out, but I think he's now under the gun.
I don't think he's going to be the first or the last car to wreck a car here at Bathurst today, and it just puts him a little bit behind everybody and able to put those 2 laps down. And remember, the tire warm-up is actually pretty crucial in these cars.
It is 107 Fahrenheit on the track right now, so it's a little bit warm. Hopefully that'll help them a little bit, but they're certainly not going to be warm by the time they hit Griffin's Bend on the first lap. Partonen crosses the line, and he's going to put in a 150. That's a pretty good lap there for him. What does everybody else have? We're waiting on the controller king, Phil Reed, to set a time. In fact, I think he's just starting his lap currently. And Jukka Tolinen has gone more than a quarter of a second quicker.
Anytime you're going under 2 minutes per lap here at Bathurst, you are literally hauling the mail around this place. I can't wait to see all of them lined up and going down these straightaways. And Phil Reed, the controller king, really squirming the car up through the mountains. And hey, check that out. That's how fast the hands are if you got a controller.
Oof, I would not want to be wiggling that little joystick back and forth that quickly. I'd be afraid the car would just snap out of control of me, but he has so much experience doing this, and it's why we call him the name that he has most definitely earned. And this looks very smooth on his way down. Let's see how he is down the straight, though. As we said, that's going to be a big talking point as to who has got the pace. And it sounds like, Joey, that there's been a set provided that's a little bit higher downforce to most of the community.
And that's interesting because, I see Dylan Freckleton also crashed during his qualifying lap. But to talk about that setup, Joe, there's a couple ways that you can approach the mountain here. Typically, it's a lower downforce setup. That means you're going to be slow up over the top of the mountain. You think, well, I can get attacked there. Well, guess what? It is so narrow. There's concrete walls. It is incredibly intimidating to try to make a pass over the mountain. And then when you get down to the straightaway, that low wing level, you just say, peace out, and say, I'm out of here. See you later, everybody. Try to catch my top speed.
Phil Reed only 9th on that lap. Here's Timothy Reed, no relation there. And, Partonen went quicker, but he didn't take pole away from Tolinen. And Tolinen also has gone quicker, so he will remain on the top spot, at least for the time being. Nico Lino is going to be the next one through as we watch Reed come down to complete his lap. The number 4 car has now away. That was not expected. Reina goes into 3rd. Miko's fast, but usually not pole fast.
Impressive stuff, and he snagged it away by 3/100ths of a second over Jukka Tolinen. The one that I'm watching, actually, Topi Kortiniemi headed down the Conrad straightaway, pretty much even with Peter Konecny right here. I'm curious what Topi's going to be able to put down.
So here's Topi. First lap, because of his wreck, was deleted. The second one should count, but he has only one try at making this stick. So out of the chase and down into Murray's corner. What has he got? He's got the number 1 in his car. Theoretically, should be one of the fastest out here with the highest I rating. He's going to cross the line, and it's a 51.3. That is actually a very poor lap for him. He's only 5th place.
Yeah, but I think it's just enough to put him up there in the lead group as we check on Sam Ryman coming down into the chase. Going to be one of the last competitors. Joe, that setup, I also find it amusing that Yuka put out a higher downforce setup. You think he's going to run the high downforce, or he's going to take some wing out of it?
There's some games there, maybe. Yeah, I think he's taking the wing out of it. I always like to say it's easier to pass in a straightaway than it is in a corner. So, yeah, I agree. If you can withstand the craziness over the mountain, might as well stick with it and make it fast on the straights. Ryman up to 10th, and his qualifying extremely good for Sam Ryman. So what can he do from there? He's got the number 20 on his car, so that's going to be great for him in that F2 championship. It's John Stevens getting ready to finish his second lap, and he's currently in 11th. He might have just enough time.
Yeah, I think that he might be able to get there. I don't know, Joe. This is close, and he's tracking just a 10th or 2 better than his fastest. I'm curious if he's going to be able to sneak this one in. I don't think so.
He did. Remember, it's the early line on this one, and that's a 52.0. That'll take him up tonight. So he improved just a little bit. So your pole position goes to Mikko Laino with Jukka Tolvanen starting in second and Juho Raita in third. He's going to be looking for some redemption after last time out. Pauli Partanen was fourth, and Topi Kortaniemi only fifth for him until you get to the first non-Finn. Once again, Timothy Reed starting in sixth. Daniel Gomez will be seventh, and Peter Konieczny is good enough for eighth. John Stevens ninth, and Dylan Freckleton rounds out your top 10.
Sam Ryman here in 11th, Phil Reed 12th, Nathan Finnegan in 13th, Seamus Power starting 14th, James Berry in 15th, Daniel Banker 16th, Pablo Suarez starting 17th, Barry West in 18th, Keith Herner in 19th, and Jan Poludsky in 20th.
21st goes to Antonio Alvarez, and PJ Gowdy was the last one to set a time in 22nd. Jason Clapper, Patrick Samaran, Ellis Spice, and Miguel Moreland did not manage to set laps for qualifying, so we'll start from the back of the field. We've got an interesting stat from our wonderful stat man, Michael DeTurk in the background. 132 days since Mikko last was on pole, which was at Detroit, the somewhat similar track. But here's the interesting fact about it. He had a grand slam at that race. So is he going to run away with this one?
Well, I mean, you look at the raw speed and what he put down, I think he's got to be a favorite, right? But you look at the field, Jukka Tolvanen, Pauli Partanen, Topi Kortaniemi, Juho Raita, they are all smashed there in the top 5. He's going to have some company.
All right, getting ready to go now. Not much of a temperature change since we saw there in the qualifying. Waiting on Timothy Reed and Nathan Finnegan to get out onto the track at this stage, and they should be ready to go. Round 2, so it's early in the season, but this could help you. Looks like everybody is ready, and the lights are now going to come up. Engines are revving, and the green flag is out. Timothy Reed did not grid up, interestingly, so he I think is going to be starting from pit lane as they head down into Hell Corner. Tolvanen going to try for the undercut and actually gets a good exit. It is going to be a drag race for the lead down to Griffin's Bend.
This is a long straightaway. It is Mikko Laino on driver's right side, Jukka Tolvanen on driver's left. Jukka's got about a car with the head. Can Mikko go late on the brakes? Jukka's going to overtake for the lead.
Oh, and someone going a little wide behind them. That is Juho Raita, who's going to lose out to Topi Kortaniemi. Also, PJ Gowdy, we saw in the background at turn 1, went out into the grass. He's going to keep going, thankfully. All 26 cars still out on track as now they hit the mountain.
Stream up through the cutting, still climbing all the way uphill. Stream it left, right, through these concrete walls. Actually, one of the faster areas of the racetrack, up over the top.
Very fast here is Mikko Laino, so he must have the downforce in this car, but he has no place to take it as Tolvanen gives him no opportunity here through the S's and down through the Dipper. They're going to head their way towards the Forest Elbow, and this will really tell the tale. If Mikko cannot catch Jukka in a straight line, then he certainly has more wing in it.
Knock on wood over here as the entire field makes it through Forest Elbow and down the Conrad straightaway for the first time. No big spins. It's Tolvanen, Laino, Partanen, your top 3.
Miko's not catching him. I think he's cranked more, winging it. This could hurt him in the end. And Partonen, the teammate, is going to try and go around the outside through the chase. He might be able to do it, but he's off into the grass. Gets a poor exit. They're going to be wheel to wheel off the corner. The battle carries on down to Murray's corner as they break into it. It looks like Miko's going to have the inside. As long as he gets the throttle down, he should have this one.
And this is clutch for Jukka Tolan, and Lino still on driver's left in that red car, side by side through turn one. Still, I expect Partonen to now drive away, but look at them all lined up behind. Miko's going to get left in a Martinsville-style train.
Oh, no, and he's got no place to take it. He's absolutely blocked in. He switches sides to try and catch up. This is on board with Juho Räinä trying to play the game as well. Round the outside of Griffin's Bend usually doesn't work, and Partonen discovers it the hard way. There goes Topi Kortiniemi up into second place as they're still wheel-to-wheel for third, and Mikko getting shuffled backwards, unable to try and overtake into the cutting.
If there wasn't any contact, there was just papers width between those two competitors, and Jukka Tolanen isn't even on screen anymore. He's 3 seconds up the road.
Looks like we may have had a problem for James Barry and Nathan Finnegan as they are suddenly back in pit lane, I believe. So unfortunate happenings for them into the mountain for the second time around. That was an impressive display of skill and respect from everybody involved in that whole situation.
I don't think it's over yet, Joe. I mean, we still got 5 cars lined up for second place, from Topi Kortiniemi all the way through Juho Räinä and even Peter Konecny. I mean, talk about punching above your iRating. Check out the number 17 number board sitting in 6th place.
Yeah, Peter Konecny doing fantastic. Unfortunately, it looks like Finnegan spun is what caused the wreck there with James Barry. And Barry has since tried to carry on and has gotten stuck in the wall, actually, in the tipper, weirdly enough. So his day is effectively over. On board with Peter, looking forward on Juho Räinä, trying to take the death grip away from these Finns.
Juho got a poor exit out of the chase there, but unfortunately, Peter couldn't do anything about it. Our leader, Jukka Tolanen, continues to lay down the fast laps, a 152.4. I mean, he is checking out, Joe.
Top of the field here in the Lotus 79s is more crowded with Finns than a free sauna as they look to try and do it again here today like they did at Watkins Glen. Side-by-side battle between Mikko and Juho, but Juho's going to fall behind Mikko, and he will claim 4th once again.
Now, if you're watching this and you say, what happened to Mikko Laino in the pace? Why is he so slow in the race? And it really comes down to the 2 different kinds of cars you can have here at Bathurst. You can have an incredibly fast lap time qualifying car with more downforce, but when it comes to the race, you see which is faster, and you need the top speed here.
It's looking like the way to go for sure. On board, riding with Mikko, trying to catch up to Partonen. Tolanen at about 3.3 seconds ahead has definitely used this opportunity well. And as long as he can manage that gap, he might be sitting pretty for the rest of this race. It all depends if somebody has better race pace over the full course of it at this stage. And here we go, Partonen versus Kortiniemi, round 2.
Curious to see this one. We know that Lino's running a higher downforce wing level. Let's check out Topi versus Pauli. Pauli's closing it in. I'm watching the miles an hour here. About 2 mile an hour advantage in the draft. Pauli's going to go driver's right. Topi covers it off on the left side. Nice defense, but oh my goodness, Pauli Partonen around the outside.
Wow, did it the hard way, and now Mikko's going to try and make it a battle involving him as well. Coming down into the last corner, can't quite get to the apex before Topi shuts the door. But this continues to allow Tolanen to just run away from him. It's now up to 3.7 seconds.
You see that red car, as soon as they go too wide in front of him, he is instantly there, ready to attack. Just unfortunately, I think it's a little bit too little, too late when he gets there.
All 4 of them in line, getting ready to approach Griffin's Bend, breaking deep into the corner there. Mikko trying to do his best to play catch up where his car is stronger, just taking the speed into the corners. And so far, it's at least getting into the gearbox of Topi, but not sure he'll be able to do much. I think we may have had a problem with Daniel Banker, who is also now out of this race. I think he got help from John Stevens.
Unfortunate, yeah, I see him not moving anymore out on the racetrack. And I know I've been kind of a little harsh on Lino setup here as we take a look at the GSRC replay, see exactly what happened here to Daniel Banker, Joe.
So coming up to Griffin's Bend, that's Stevens behind him. Punts him in a bad way right into the tire barrier. No wonder Daniel isn't carrying on anymore.
We got Nathan Finnegan here. This is through the cutting. Oh, got a little bit of traffic right in front of him. This gets really narrow. Unfortunately, Finnegan, as well as the number 12 car, that was James Barry. And then you see everybody having to avoid. Finnegan did the right thing there, hitting that tow button. Get off of the racetrack.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit selfless in that situation here. Might as well just take the tow, bite the bullet, and know that you're going to have a bad race. But it prevented a few other cars, at least, from getting involved in that accident. Juho Raina is on the attack once again, as we see side by side, but he's going to lose it. Gooses it a little too hard off the corner, full 360, and away he goes.
Yeah, and as long as he doesn't get any more wheel spin here, he might hold on to 8th place. No, Dylan Freckleton is going to overtake him, so Juho Raina is going to fall to 9th, and he does have a few seconds, but I think he can climb up a little bit out of this.
Tell you what, Phil Reed, despite not having the best of qualifying, is up 6 positions into 6th place. So he's trying to make good on a race that wasn't looking like it'll provide much for him. We're watching with Alvarez now, looking backwards. This is in the mid-pack as Barry West and Timothy Reed chase him.
Like you said, going up the hill a little bit further back. Jason Clapper, also another one of our big movers, always starting in the back of the pack, chasing Timothy Reed. Joe, now Timothy Reed, he qualified, but if I remember, he didn't put himself on the starting grid. That can be a strategy just in case there is a big wreck here.
Yes, exactly. And there was a couple wrecks at the beginning of this race, but nothing that collected the entire field. So don't think it's quite working how he hoped, but he took a bit of a gamble in that sense, and it just didn't roll his way, at least for now. As we said, attrition almost always plays a part here. Pablo Suarez, though, here in the number 22, is in 12th, up 5 positions. That's John Stevens in front of him.
Going down the hill now into the elbow here. Always such a tricky corner. You really have to dance on the brake pedal, not lock up the front or the rear. Then it's important to get on the gas as soon as possible because you see how long this straightaway is.
Yeah, just carries so much speed here. And in fact, Stevens getting up to 171 miles an hour before they reach the chase. And then he gets onto the brakes and tries to navigate his way through this very wide chicane. Suarez still chasing. Sam Ryman in there along with Alvarez.
I'm impressed with how close these groups of cars have been. Typically, Bathurst, it can spread things out a little bit, but I think with the setup that Yuka provided, being a little bit more of a higher downforce set, it's keeping the cars close to each other, and it provides passing opportunities, but you got to be there.
Yeah, you have to put yourself in the right position. You got to be in it to win it, and for right now, the drivers have got to be a little bit closer to one another maybe to try and take advantage, while also trying to avoid getting caught up in the wrecks here as we once again go through Griffin's Bend into the cutting, and this train of cars works their way amongst the canyon of concrete.
Now we're heading down. Oh, problems with Mikko Lino. He is off and he is in the wall coming down the hill. This is just after Skyline. He's trying to figure out a good place that he can turn the car around. Joe, he's in a safe area, but he's going to be sitting there for a while if he's looking for a spot.
Yeah, he can't whip it around apparently. Now he's in an even worse place. Thankfully, he's slightly off the race now. As long as nobody goes wide here, he should be okay. Watching to see. Everybody seems to be quite heads up in this situation. And now he can finally go, although he still has to do another K-turn just to make it get facing the right way.
And I mean, talk about lucky if we are able to get anything. Here's Phil Reed trying to take away the 4th place position now, but I mean, he was just hauling going down the hill from Skyline, missed his brake marker, and somehow didn't pile it into the wall.
You know, I wonder if this is the downside that we're seeing to the lower downforce for some of these drivers. Although Mikko doesn't have the lower downforce, so I guess he doesn't really have an excuse there. But for Juho, you know, seeing some of these drivers loop it around in the corners, the other side of the coin is you do actually have to try and drive the car when it's in this tricky state over the mountain.
And I'm going to maybe speak a little bit for Lino over here in that, yeah, it was the car setup. Sure, he did have a high downforce setup, but I would say in the first 3/4 of this race, he is going to be so frustrated because he can't pass anybody. You're going down the straightaway and you just can't catch anybody, and then you're faster than them in the corner, so he has to be aggressive. He has to charge down the mountain, and that's where the mistake was made.
And Timothy Reed, apologies. When you start from pit lane, sometimes it plays a little havoc with our graphics. So this red car that we're on board with is Tim right now, and he's up to 13th. So while it is showing him down 7 from his gridding spot, technically he's made up 13 positions, actually, I think.
Yeah, he's doing quite well. We would have to do the math over here, Joe. I would actually have to like pull out the calculator and whatnot. That's tough for me.
Well, my math teacher said that we wouldn't have a calculator in our pocket at all times, and that wasn't true in the end. So joke's on them as they come out of the Ben Forest Elbow once again and down the hill. See the drivers flying towards the bridge here, up and over the banner, as they get ready to break for the chase. We're only on lap 8, so it's still early days in this race, and a lot can happen. We've already seen quite a few dramatic developments here.
I think to continue the talk between the low downforce and the high downforce, if you're looking forward something for the high downforce, the last half of the race should be good for you. You won't have used up those tires. They shouldn't have been sliding around so much. So maybe those lower downforce cars might struggle here in the last half of the race.
Bill Reed is now up 7 positions. He's managed to get to 5th, I think, from Nico's spin earlier. And he's chasing down Konechny. He's got about 0.3 of a second up to him. Ooh, big save there by Phil. Oh, and he has to do it again as he goes wide up into the cutting. The car looks to be a handful.
And Daniel Gomez is also right behind Phil Reed. He is that yellow car just lurking in the background. Juho Raina is giving chase right here to the number 9. Remember, Juho had that little spin coming out onto the front straightaway earlier, so he was trying to make up those positions, climb back into the top 5.
Down the hill into the dipper once again, getting as close to those walls as they dare. They can see where the wheels are. These are actually cars where you have pretty good visibility with the old open wheel style, giving you lots of view to the side. But even still, you can't always see exactly where you've placed the car, and you have to play it careful. Juho Raina, though, has got a good run, and he's going to try and see if he can do anything down into the chase. We've already seen someone do it around the outside before, but that is a lift, and Daniel's going to let him go.
I think that's a smart move from Gomez because obviously Juho Raina has a lot of speed. Take out the pen, take out the paper, start taking some notes on where you can get faster while you follow him.
Absolutely. Also, it looks like Pablo Suarez has lost out to Timothy Reed. So Timothy now gains 11th spot and continues to climb. Here behind him, Jason Clapper, up 8 spots from the beginning. He's into P15. He's going to see if he can have a go at Antonio Alvarez, but Alvarez will rebuff him.
I'm always impressed at Jason Clapper's drives. I think a little bit understated is his patience of having to climb through the field every single time. You see him showing the nose, but if it's covered off, if he doesn't have that pass, he's not just going to throw it in there. He's got a good head on the shoulders.
He's become something of an expert at passing, I think, on that sense. As Alvarez is going to pass Sam Ryman quite easily. In fact, Sam looks off the pace and lets both them by. I don't know. Sam is known for sometimes letting cars go, but that seemed a little extreme.
Every driver is a little bit different, and if you get rattled with stuff in your mirrors, the last thing you want to do is be climbing up the hill at Mount Panorama with multiple cars in your mirrors.
Phil Reed's gotten close again. He's back on Konechny once more. He's recovered from his little hiccup there through the cutting on the last lap. So down the hill, what kind of straight line speed does he have as well? Doesn't look that great in comparison to Peter. And like you said, Juho Rainer still playing catch up now that he's overtaken Daniel Gomez. His next victim will be the controller king.
Juho is closing that gap, so it's kind of 4th, 5th, and 6th with Daniel Gomez in 7th there in that yellow car, just the caboose on the train. I can't say enough about how well Peter Konechny's doing. I mean, he had a good qualifying effort with 8th place, but he is hanging on inside the top 5.
Yeah, he's got a great opportunity here, and as we've seen, it's very easy for somebody else to lose it. So there's a possible podium in the cards for Peter if he just sticks with it, as Antonio Alvarez now is the one going side by side with Pablo Suarez. And now Jason Clapper sees another chance. He's going to go around the outside. He's going to break much, much deeper, work the hard way around, but he can't quite keep it up. Oh, better launch off the corner by a big margin, actually, and outguns Pablo Suarez.
We've got to remember these cars still use the old H pattern, so if you miss the shift or get a little bit of a wheel spin, have a rough shift, it can definitely affect your forward drive. We just saw that.
So Sam Ryman is now getting close here, and instead of lifting off, looks like he might think about it, but no, he is going to back off once again. Looks like we have Daniel Banker, who is one of the early retirees from this race, unfortunately. Daniel, commiserations. What exactly happened out there to you?
Hey guys, how are you? I'm not really sure. Don Stevens ran into the back of me. I didn't think I braked particularly early or anything. So yeah, unfortunately it spun me around and he was able to continue on.
Now, we've been having lots of debates in here over, the high downforce versus the low downforce. Low seems to be the way to go from what we can see. You've actually been out there. What way did you go, and what do you think has the advantage?
I pretty much stayed with the high downforce setup. It's true that the straights are about the only place to stick a pass, but really, I was just kind of hoping for attrition. I just want a setup where I can comfortably get through the race and not be driving on the edge all the time. And because as we saw with my wreck, one slip up and you're in the wall and that's over. So
yeah, we just saw another replay of it. We had caught it earlier there as to what happened to Daniel Banker. Unfortunate, but I guess sometimes that's just the nature of racing at Bathurst. The mountain will bite you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's like I said, just the first thing with this race is just to make sure you're going to finish.
Well, again, sorry that you're out as early as you are, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in better conditions next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Daniel Banker, who looks like he'll be scored 24th in the end. Watching this battle on screen, it has changed hands as we were on that replay. Phil Reed got by Konechny and is now up into 4th, and now Juho Rainer is breathing down the neck of the 17.
I really do feel like it's a talking point I bring up every week, but just look at how respectful everybody is on the racetrack. This is that replay of Phil Reed. Peter Konechny, he doesn't get the best run out of the chase. Guess what? He doesn't defend. He doesn't block anything. They come off the final corner side by side with plenty of room given.
Great job by our director there, pulling that one up almost as soon as I had mentioned it and had that ready to go. So Phil into 4th. Topi Kortaniemi is 9 seconds up the road. That's going to be a tall ask there. This makes me wonder what happened on Phil's qualifying, because I get the feeling he made a mistake. He's this fast.
Yeah, I think there could be a couple things, because at Bathurst, sometimes you just want to put a banker lap in, right? Sometimes you just don't get the tires warmed up, and Joe, it could be as simple as locking the tire coming down the hill, and you know how easy that is.
Yeah, very much so. It's unfortunately incredibly easy on some of the downhill plunges that they have in many places throughout the lap here. So into the first corner, appropriately named Hell Corner with what it sends you into later. Peter Konechny is still got Juho Rainer right behind him. He's going to get a nice pull up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. Doesn't look like he's got the straight line speed compared to that blue number 17, though.
You're right. I was looking both 166 miles an hour, and if you are Juho Räikkönen, that means you're running a slightly higher downforce setup because you're in the draft and you're still not faster than that car in front of you. Peter Konecny, that's going to be your defense. Just hang on up through the mountain and then use the top speed down the straightaway.
I'm sure he's going to do his best. So far, he's put up a pretty good defense. As we said, he's managed to climb his way as high as he has and isn't exactly tumbling backwards very quickly. Meanwhile, this is Stevens, who we saw just a bit ago is the one that made contact with Banker. And now Jason Clapper is in front of him, but I think that is more Clapper having passed him than Stevens on the attack. In fact, yes, here we go. So we're on board with Clapper, and there seems to be a pass in front of him. Stevens off to the side, can't hold him off. Whoa! Great call there from Clapper to see the opening and just dash through.
Yeah, I believe that was Antonio Alvarez that pretty much opened the door and then, like you called it, just took advantage. And oh no, here's Jason Clapper with a problem of his own, and John Stevens getting back by.
I think he had to catch the car up. It was gonna get loose under braking and it went wide. This actually would be a really good onboard if we can find the replay there of him through Forest Elbow. That 13 did a good job keeping it from becoming a wreck, but he had to give up the spot because of it. But at least, as we just heard Daniel say, part of the struggle here is just getting to the end. Here we go. Watch this.
Look at how narrow this section of the racetrack is. Oh my goodness, Joe, you are right. I mean, it doesn't get any closer than that, locking up the wrong tire heading into the elbow.
Which I have done plenty here. That Forest Elbow, it just lifts that right-hand tire when you don't want it to, and you need the grip. Stevens is going to let him have it right back in the end. And in fact, looks like he does have, I think he's got front wing damage. So I think that is probably, I'm going to guess, related to the Banker incident.
Something that we didn't see is that Juho Räikkönen made his way around Peter Konecny just a couple laps ago. I actually think it was last lap, but another tip of the cap to Peter. He had Juho on the outside of him. He got loose. He backed out of this side-by-side moment. It's just another example of really, really good racing. Respect for your rival out on the track.
All right, here it is on board. As we watch from Juho's perspective, able to hug that right side just a little bit better, gave him a better run through the corner. And yeah, the blue car knew it. He holds the left-hand side. Oh, he needs another stab of a slipstream.
Remember, Joe, we found out Räikkönen's running a little bit higher downforce. And as they go side by side through the chase and Peter gets loose on the inside here, it ends up backing out of it.
Well, if he is quicker in a straight line, probably going to have to brake earlier as well into the corner. So that worked out well for Juho. And he's going to see if he can catch back up to Phil Reed, who's doing his best to try and chase down Topi Korteniemi. Sam Ryman here in 15th, actually down 4 from where he started. So his qualifying actually very good. Race pace not quite as much today, though we did see him give away a couple of those positions. Up ahead of him, I want to give some love to Alvarez, because we've been talking about how Clapper has climbed up 11 places. That's without him qualifying. Alvarez did qualify, and he's up 10 places into this 11th spot. So, man, he has been doing the hard work today.
And he's got an almost identical lap time as Jason Clapper behind him. So you're right, he is charging through the field. He's doing it all on pace. Unfortunately, right now for Antonio, it looks like he's got about a 7.5-second gap to the next competitor, Tim Reed, up the road.
Haven't talked about Moreland much, and well, he's got Keith Herner just in front of him. Had a go at trying to make a pass, but didn't quite stick. This is for 17th position, so a little bit farther down. And they're heading through the cutting currently.
Up the hill, like you said, a little bit further back. I love this racetrack, Joe. I don't know what is your favorite part about it, but this is mine. It's pretty much from the cutting through Skyline.
Same. No, it's the old school nature of it. There's very few tracks like this. In fact, if they built a new one and tried to mimic it, it would look nothing like it these days, because Well, it's dangerous, and even though I don't want to see anybody get hurt, I do love the thrill of seeing them being willing to tackle it. And thankfully, in the virtual world, we can do crazy things like take a Lotus 79 here.
You're right, because pretty much the fastest thing that they put on there is the V8 supercars or the GT3 cars, depending on the time of day, I guess. So yeah, putting something with extra downforce and extra grip out here, it's always fun to watch them.
Absolutely. That my mind goes back to, I think it was in the supercars, someone broke their leg recently in a pretty horrific way coming down the hill. So it's still extremely dangerous to race here, as safe as we've made the cars. As we come up the hill once again, the chase here between Seamus Power and Timothy Reed. Reed's got a good run. He might be able to poke his nose in if he wants to. He does. He's going to look to the inside, but Seamus doesn't fight him. He breaks early.
Smart move right there, going side by side to start the mountain. It's just going to get narrower and narrower as you see you work your way up through the cutting. Looking, you know, they're still doing almost 70 miles an hour uphill through the cutting there, Joe.
Which is amazing because it's pretty much a hairpin. Yeah. That's amazingly fast. Now, I noticed you glancing over at the fastest lap screen, and you seem to have pointed out the leaders. What's going on here?
So nothing's really changed up front, right? It's still Jukka Tolvanen about 3 seconds up the road, but knowing Jukka and Pauli, they trade places for that fast lap. It's worth a point, and so I think that they're just playing a little bit of chess, cooling off their tires and seeing who can grab that fast lap.
They've been known to do that, too, as back and forth, Juho Rainer goes by Phil Reed. Phil actually had a bit of a connection issue and blinked for a brief moment, so I wonder if that's what's motivated him to not fight too hard. And it's back to 4 Finns in the top 4 now as they exit out of the final turn, and it's down to 6 laps to go. We're coming to the end of it now.
I think my biggest question mark here this race, Joe, is Topi Korteniemi, right? We know that he's incredibly fast, but at Watkins Glen, I think the setup kind of held him back there. And here we are at Bathurst. It's kind of a similar story. He's doing a 152.5. I mean, Juho Rainer just threw down a 151.1 last lap. So what has happened to the pace here to the number 1 car?
Well, and I'm looking, and he's been able to hit low 151s pretty consistently. I wonder if he had a hiccup on that last lap. I'm going to go check and see if he had a big moment there. Obviously, not too dramatic as he lost to, about a second and a half there. But I don't see anything super big. It may have been in the dipper, so I don't think we will necessarily be able to find it here today. Phil Reed, in the meantime, watching from his perspective, following down now in the dirty air. That's got to be even more terrifying. Another reason not to take high downforce cars here, Joey. Imagine having dirty air between those walls.
Well, not only the dirty air, but you still have the slipstream effect, so you don't have the front grip that you want, and it's almost like the front car is literally pulling you down the mountain.
That's got to be scary. As we watch them, at least at a part where he wants that pull along Conrad Straight. Funny thing about that is its name Conrad is because that's where drivers used to blow the Conrad in the car. So that's why it's earned that name. And it has since been split up by the chase. It used to go all the way to here, and they decided that's a little bit too dangerous. And so I believe it was in the mid-'80s that they added that.
And for all you young whippersnappers out there, Conrad is a connecting rod inside the engine. And yeah, you basically spin that thing too fast, RPM, you blow up that connecting rod to the piston, and there goes your motor.
So down into the chase, and Barry West giving us some good views today. Barry West versus Sam Ryman. These are two sort of underdogs, I would say, that are very frequently here in the top split, but do their best and are, I want to say, both fighting for the, no, they're not both fighting for the F2 championship. Barry West is in the F1 championship, I believe.
Yeah, I think Barry West got promoted from F2 up into that F1 championship. Sam, I think, is still in that F2 championship. He finished a little bit further down the order in Watkins Glen. I see him top 5 right now, but it's still getting going out there for sure.
Up into Griffin's Bend, both of them trying to use that uphill braking as best they can to send it in deep, but nothing doing now for Barry West as we head back over to Yucatolan, and haven't really looked at him all that much, but he hasn't really been doing anything except just ticking off laps. And this latest one was a 51.3. There, as we see his onboard with his Angry Birds helmet that he's become known for. If you don't know why, it's because Angry Birds was developed by a Finnish game company.
Kind of odd because they're always so calm, right? But I guess a lot of pent-up rage against birds, apparently.
They actually, in the original game, I remember catching this and being really stunned by the obscure reference to anybody but race fans, is they actually have a level that has one of the pigs with a mustache made to look out like Kiki Rosberg in his 1982 winning Williams, modeled in the blocks. Again, it was something incredibly obscure to anybody but nerds like us.
Right? Yeah, nobody's going to figure that one out. Oh, here comes Barry West. He's going to make the move there around Sam Ryman. I think Sam made that a little bit easy, but move Barry West up into 13th place position. 5
gained by Barry. He's having a nice day out there, and I'm sure he'll feel pretty good about this one if he can bring it home. In the meantime, back here, this is Keith Erner with Jan in the number 19, coming down to the braking of Murray's corner, and he's going to come down to the apex. Not going to give that one away to Keith quite yet.
Yeah, but check out right in front of Jan. That's Miguel Moreland. So we got 3 cars right here. We have had a little bit of attrition rate, but this is for a top 15.
Polowniewski is going to try his best to see if he can hold him off as we look back from Miguel Moreland. Looks like he gained a lot of time down the straightaway on them, trying to separate himself. Moreland up 11 positions, tied with Jason Clapper currently, but Miguel is another one of those that did not set a lap time.
Yeah, it's pretty much Antonio Alvarez, Jason Clapper, and Miguel Moreland. Those are our biggest movers in the race, and they're all right about plus 10, plus 11. Have to keep an eye on maybe if one of them can edge ahead of the other. Right on board here with Phil Reed. I don't think much is going to change here. I think that he's really following Juho Raina, and Raina's really got the outright pace, but if Juho makes another mistake, which we saw him do earlier, it might get Phil Reed that 4th.
These onboards do such a good job, too, of really showing you what it's like trying to drive these cars. This is definitely one of the more visceral machines in all of iRacing. It's very raw, and there's not much assistance there. Oh, I think Alvarez just made a mistake, and Clapper's going to get another one now. Yeah, a little bit of a slip-up coming out of the chase, and Jason has pounced.
That means Antonio is back down to 9 positions gained, while Jason is up to 12. Something I've noticed here, we're going to get a look at that pass on the replay going down the Conrad Straight. I'm sorry, this is Jan going around the fight that we saw earlier.
And manages to pop out, get through into the chase. Looks like he's probably going to outbrake him here. Yep, and gets the job done eventually in that classic IndyCar-looking paint scheme that he's got. Here we go. This is Jason Clapper making that pass. Now watch the yellow and black machine in front of him. Gonna just not be able to get that throttle down.
Oh, you called it. I mean, huge wiggle right there. Just incredible car control to save it.
Also, fastest lap for Phil Reed. Am I seeing that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Not expected. Oh, no. Dylan Freckleton, who is having a great day, has binned it into the forest elbow. Looks like the car's going again. Don't know how damaged it is, but I did see it in the wall.
Remember what we saw from Jason Clapper earlier? Well, this is almost a spitting image, but he made it to the wall.
Oh, yeah. Corrected it. Yeah, I just nosed it in a little bit. I think he didn't touch the suspension, so maybe bent the wing a little. Let's watch it from his perspective here.
Yep, it was just on the brakes, Joe. I mentioned it. You have to dance on that brake pedal, that pressure so delicately, not to lock the front, not to lock the rear, and keep the change of direction.
So he falls to 8th. Actually, I don't think he even lost a position necessarily, but Timothy Reed's gotten close to him as we're back with Alvarez once again. He may have been overtaken by Clapper, but he's not going to let him go easily. We're down to 2 laps to go, and he's making him work for it.
I'm seeing purple lap times being put down from Yuka and Pauli, or at least sector times. But you mentioned that fast lap earlier, Joe. Do you think Yuka and Pauli are expecting somebody else to be 0.6 of a second faster right now?
Not typically. Usually they're 2 of the quickest out there. So I think they'll have their eyebrows raised when they see that one. Not sure if they're paying attention in the race itself. Oh no, Daniel Gomez. And he's got big damage on the front of the car, facing the wrong way on the track. This is not a good place to be. He's going to try and save it. Oh, he's almost pulling into somebody. Let's see what happened, though.
Joe, so this is after the cutting. He's going to get up on the curb.
Oh, wow. I will be impressed if that car can drive away. And, yeah, now that he gets on the throttle, it looks like it's toast. Meanwhile, Barry West, little too hot, too shallow, down in the hill corner.
Thankfully, doesn't make it all the way to the wall and doesn't get stuck in the gravel. That's never a problem here in iRacing. But we jump up to our leaders who have taken the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Mount Panorama.
Tolinen holds 1.5 seconds over Parton. Last time they played the team game until the end, but that was involving quite a bit of slipstream battles. This time, Partonen, well, he's cut it down, but I don't think he's close enough that that's going to pull him in for an attack here.
I think that last lap, Yuka lifted off the throttle. Oh no, is this? It's Keith Herner. They have similar painted cars, but that's coming out of the elbow. But what I was going to say is, I think Yuka kind of lifted this previous lap, trying to set fast lap on the last lap.
Forrest's elbow has been diabolical today, and this time it's a bit of a different one. Rear goes out from him and backs it in. Oh, don't want to do that to the gearbox of this car. He'll be able to pull away, but probably not as fast as he was before.
And Pauli Partonen just had a big-time wiggle coming down the hill. I mean, Yuka Tolinen's been in control really since the start of the race. It's all his to lose.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds now. They're coming up to the chase. All he has to do is be smooth to the finish. Could be another finish top 3, top 4 even here down in Australia. They seem to like this latest version of the car, although I don't know if that's an accurate statement. I know some drivers not a fan of the latest updates to it. Regardless, it suits them as Tolinen is going to take the win here today.
Teammate Pauli Partonen will cross that start-finish line in second place. Then we've got Topi Korteniemi rounding out your podium in third.
Ooh, Jason Clapper might be able to get another spot here. He's run down Seamus Power, and he's up 13 right now. Can he make it one more before the checkered flag falls? He's got a very good run here. Power looks like he's got nothing to do to try and hold him back. He's going to try and defend the left-hand side, under braking here, down into the chase, much deeper into the corner, keeps it on the circuit. Jason Clapper with a power move.
Around the outside and plenty of space given to Seamus Power. Let's see if he can keep it together through the final turn. Put the power down. Jason Clapper up 14 to finish 9th.
That is impressive stuff here today. Moreland tried his best to keep up with him on that, but only 11 positions gained for the number 23. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit. Round 2 in the Sunday Grand Prix Series sees Jukka Tolvanen take the win, but not the fastest lap, and even he and his fellow countrymen were wowed by who got that. We'll touch on that in a second. Partanen was second. Behind him, his teammate taking another 1-2 as Topi Kortaniemi settled for another podium in third. Juho Raina was able to get back to fourth, and it was Phil Reed who was fastest out there by a considerable margin with a 50.2, which was 0.2 quicker than the pole out here. That is just unbelievable stuff, climbing up 7 places today. Peter Konieczny was 6th, and Timothy Reed was 7th, as Dylan Freckleton wound up 8th, and Jason Clapper did his thing, gaining 14 spots to finish ninth. Seamus Power grabs the top 10.
In 11th place, we have Antonio Alvarez, who had a fantastic drive, up 10 positions right there. Sam Ryman also with another really good race, finishing 12th. Barry West finishing 13th. Jan Polensky finishing in 14th place. Miguel Moreland, we highlighted him as well, up 11 positions with a top 15 finish. Ellis Spice going to finish in 16th. Keith Herner, 17th. Mikko Leino, unfortunately, with the problem early on in the race coming down the hill, will settle for an 18th place finish and the last car that's on the lead lap. Unfortunately, Daniel Gomez 2 laps down, and then Pat Samaran is the last car to take the checkered flag back here in 21st, 2 laps down.
Yeah, everybody else DNFs today, but Jukka Tolvanen takes the win. Wasn't on pole, but managed to sneak by pretty much at the first lap, and didn't look back from there. Jukka, we were talking a whole lot about how to set up the car for this one. It seemed like a lot of people feel like the way to go was the low downforce. Is that what you did today?
Well, depends a bit. I think I was using more downforce than last time here. It just felt faster for me, and I was even thinking that it's a little bit of a risk to run as high downforce as I was running, but it seemed to work in the end. I was fast on the mountain, and I was feeling somewhat comfortable. Pauli was catching, but I was managing the risk, so I didn't want to touch any walls or anything, and it worked. So I wonder if I can skip some risk management trainings at work after this.
Now, you made that pass, as I mentioned, pretty much right at the beginning. Was that sort of this is a critical moment, I have to pass Mikko early or it's going to be hard?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to get that done as fast as possible, since I knew that it would be possible to get away if the guys are fighting for the positions, and I felt like I was maybe faster on the first laps than others. So yeah, I wanted to get that position right away.
It makes sense. Well, so back-to-back wins here. It's looking like the car suits you with the changes. Do you feel like this is kind of falling well into your hands this season?
We'll see. I'm still not sure if I can get enough races done, and it's a little bit surprising I'm handling these changes so well, since somehow I feel like the driving is in a sense harder, and my old setups are not working, and during the week it always feels struggling, and I'm sure I won't have the pace to win, but then the Sunday comes and I'm there fighting for it. So far it's gone really well. I'm really surprised about that.
Well, congratulations, back-to-back wins to kick things off, and I guess we'll see you when we head off to Monza.
Yeah, most probably, yeah.
That was Jukka Tolvanen taking the win down here, down under. Up next, I believe Joey's caught up with Pauli Partanen, who was second.
Well, Pauli, looking at the raw speed of 50.6 out there, do you think you could have won this one if Yuka didn't just get the gap initially?
I don't know. First of all, I had a very bad quali. I made mistakes there, and P4 was not very good start here, so I was kind of lost hope already at the quali with Jukka, but I had a great start. I was able to overtake Juho, which was very crucial because he's not very easy to overtake in any track. And after that, when I got past Mikko, then Topi just came past me. We went three wide there, and yeah, it looked very bad for a win because Jukka was so far away that I know it would be impossible to catch him, and in the end it was impossible to catch him. So you got great pace. Hard to beat that guy.
Well, I know because of that, Yuka was able to run away, but how was that battle? It almost seemed like you guys were 3 wide into the cutting there on I think the second lap.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. We were battling with Mikko, and then I looked my triplet screens to the right, and I said, "Who is that?" It's a Topi, and he goes so fast. Like amazing top speed. He really had. I was surprised how low wings he had. So after he passed me, I was super scared that I was not able to even overtake him. But I think I made one of my best overtakes ever on Topi. It was super good. It felt so nice, and that's why I'm so happy of this race. Even if I'm second, I still enjoyed this very, very much.
I can tell you're happy over there. Congrats on that second place. My last question for you. Usually, you and Yuka play the chess game of who's going to grab that fast lap. Were you expecting Phil Reed to throw down a 150.2?
No, I have no idea how he did that. That's insane. Okay, I did a lot of mistakes. I know Jukka was bit managing the driving. He was not really pushing on the race. I was pushing very much, but I was sliding. I was sideways so many laps. It was horrible driving from me, to be honest. But I really tried to make that good lap. But in the end, I think I was something like half a second slower. So. It's amazing. Hats off to the Phil. It's amazing driving. Like I can't believe how fast he is.
Well, make sure to go back and watch the replay because we're getting the slow-mo shots of you and Mikko as well as Juho in there battling it all out. And Pauli, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Well, Jukka, of course, like always. We had again, surprise, fun week, very fun week. We did a lot of practice together and had a good laughs during the week as always. So it was again fun, like it should be. This should be fun, and I try to be. I don't want to be annoyed about winning or not winning or anything like that. I just want to have fun, and this was very fun week. So thanks for Jukka. That means a lot to me. And shout out to Topi, great race, great driving. You had so little wing that I don't understand how you were able to keep that car on the hillside alive, but somehow you did it. Amazing job, and thanks to you guys, amazing broadcasts as always, and see you next week.
That was Pauli Partanen finishing second. And Joe, honestly, that's what we all are coming here for. You see how happy Pauli was after the race, even finishing second.
Absolutely. Let's see if Topi's is happy. But first, I want to ask, are the Finns ever going to let anybody else take the podium this season?
No, it depends on the other guys. If it's just drive faster, more of the loud pedal.
Exactly. It's in their hands. They just got to beat you guys. I mean, wow, impressive stuff. And it sounds like Pauli was impressed with how you were able to drive the car with his little wing in it. Do you find yourself comfortable with a car that doesn't have a lot of downforce?
I think because I had to lift a little bit in fast mountain section, it really kept me on my toes, and I really had to keep focus because of that, and I just couldn't drive on autopilot. So I think it was good in that sense. But I like Logan. Maybe it was too low this time, but it happens.
It seemed to work out decently in the sense that at least you finished on the podium. A couple other drivers made mistakes, though. What do you think really made the difference out there? Just more practice or more comfort with the way the car was handling?
I think it's a mental game here because car is changing the whole fuel stint, and you have to be confident and not to make any mistakes in the mountains and be fast. So I think it's mostly a mental game here, at least.
I think that makes sense to me, honestly. Well, again, congratulations. Another podium. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more at Monza.
Thanks.
Topi Kortaniemi finishing third today. Finally, one more to talk to. Joey's caught up with the Controller King to see if we can find out how in the world he did that fast lap.
Yeah, Phil, a 150.2. How did you manage that one on the last lap?
Yeah, it kind of came as a surprise a little bit. I guess like I must have been like in that perfect sort of range of being able to pick up the toe from Juho ahead, but not close enough that I was worried that I would need to be backing off at any point. So it was kind of like right in that sweet spot. And then, I only made one tiny mistake on the lap. So it kind of just came together quite nicely, I think.
I got to ask you, how is the controller at a place like Bathurst? We know at Le Mans, the big long straightaways may be a little bit easier, but at a place that is so tight and twisty, how is it?
It's actually funny because, like, in some ways, Bathurst I find a little easier in some senses than perhaps some other tracks than you'd possibly expect. And I think that's part of it is because up the actual parts that are the difficult parts of the track, I tend to, and I think most people don't run at 100% all the time running through there. You're always leaving a little bit on the table just because you don't want to be making mistakes and hitting the walls. And so I think because you're sort of like not completely overdriving the car, you're kind of letting it roll through, it's actually not too bad. And most of the uphill bit as you're going up is flat. But I find the trickiest is turn 3 and I think it's 3 into 4. Like the quick left into the braking uphill into the sharper left. That's the trickiest one because you got to try to keep it smooth and it's so easy to lose the rear on braking. But otherwise, it's actually not too bad around most of the track.
Well, last thing I got for you is you going to be here next week at Monza? Are we going to see your race out there?
No, unfortunately, I will not be here next week, but I look forward to watching that one back and this one.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out and racing, and congrats on that 5th place finish.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
That was Phil Reed, driver of the number 3 car.
And that's going to wrap us up for today and give a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie, as well as Michael Deturk behind the scenes, helping us with a lot of interesting stats. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race is going to be Monza, Sunday, October 1st into 10:30 p.m. Eastern, a little bit earlier because we got the majors that week. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here because we're not done today. The MX5 World Sim Series is going to Rudskogen at 4:30 p.m. Eastern today. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.